Da 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 da.
Excited to talk about these quilts. My name is Teresa Duryea Wong, and there's 11 quilts in this exhibition, and these are all antique quilt tops. So the tops were made by somebody else. I had a couple visitors a minute ago. They're not quilters, so I had to explain what that means. But the tops were made, so the quilt is 3 layers, right? So the top layer was made by somebody. Some of them are quite old. I have a couple that are over 100 years old, and the others are more vintage. I have some cards here. I'm just going to see here. So all of the quilts are quilted on my longarm quilting machine. I don't use any computers. Everything is done on free motion talk. And I sometimes use rulers, but I love that combination of really modern with very old quilts. And I think it's kind of surprising to a lot of people that work with antique quilts, or people who also finish quilts, that they don't have to be hand quilted. You can do them on the machine. So this one is one of my favorite ones. I actually finished quilting this one in 2 days because I was terrified of these berries getting smashed, because you know as you're finishing a quilt, you roll it up on the take-up arm, and so I was really worried. I stayed up all night worrying about these berries, so I just really worked hard to get it done. But I tried to sort of mimic kind of the circles and the motifs. So one of the things that I like to look for when I'm looking at the antique quilt tops is how can I quilt it? And if it doesn't speak to me, then I'm not really interested in it. So I'm always looking for, a lot of space where I can add something to the quilt to make it really kind of jump out. All of these quilts, I think it's always fun when a quilt has a story, but since we don't know who made these, they don't have stories, so I made up stories for the quilts. So just for fun, I decided to name them after my relatives. So this one, I love this top. No idea how old it is. At least 50, maybe early 1900s. Really kind of hard to tell. But I love that the pattern doesn't line up. That just really speaks to me. I think whoever made that, I would really love to have known them, because that's the way I would like to make that quilt. So I found out this quilt is, this block is called the spider web. So I named this after my aunt Neola, who had a spotless clean house with no spider webs. So that's hers. And this one is the typical called the grandmother's flower garden. Very classic. We see this over and over and over. But I loved the yellow in between, and so that just kind of really spoke to me. And I had a lot of fun quilting this. I've never made one, but I do love it. And I try to put on really kind of fun backs too. So this is that.
It's a great choice.
Yeah, really fun sort of. I'm sure I messed it up. Yeah. Oh, thank you. You go ahead. Okay, so let's go around here. Yeah.
And I never been concerned about using such a rapid, needle movement over antique fabric.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I have a couple I'll show you over there that I thought were very fragile, and so I use silk thread because silk has a natural glide to it. I only use natural fabrics. I never use polyester batter. I never use polyester thread. So all of these are cotton thread. But I feel like when the quilt is actually quilted, it's stronger than the top alone. Like, I think you could, if you had just the top, you couldn't wash it, right? It might fall apart. But once it's quilted, it's so much stronger. So I do try to quilt over the seams a lot too, because I feel like I'm just reinforcing it. Yeah. I'm just gonna live another century. This is one.
Oh, okay. I will look for that.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta go. I gotta meet my friend. I'm sorry.
This one is a variation of a trip around the world. So it's actually, this is the quilting I love the most maybe of all of them. And So I named this after my grandmother who loved to travel, so trip around the world kind of thing. And again, I thought this muslin border was really an opportunity because it was so wide open and so boring without it. So I just kind of tried to create pattern in there. And I always look for quilts that are, number one, in pretty good shape because I don't want to fix them a lot. It's really tedious. And I try to find ones that are flat, that are laying flat, because it's really hard with these old quilts to get them to lay flat if they're not flat, especially when you have muslin and cotton, and because they shrink and stretch at different rates. And so this one, I could not get it to lay flat. I took it off the machine and almost threw it away. And I ended up, this is a great tip for anybody that's afraid, I just tucked it over. There was like a big gap here and it was all wobbly, so I just folded it over and quilted on the top of it. And you can't even see it.
Brilliant.
And so I made it flat with the machine.
And that's where you started your tuck, right where you were quilting?
Yes, I started the tuck like right here, and it goes all the way out.
That's genius.
Great idea.
That's my best tip. Just fold it over and keep going. Don't stop.
Good salvage. That was a good salvage.
Yeah. Also, I changed the bobbin thread every time. So the back is really fun. Yeah, you can really see the quilting on the back. I know, that vivid Kona cotton wide backs. And I was going to say, one of the things I also like to do when I'm doing any quilt, whether it's antique, is really, I feel that the stitching should enhance the patchwork. I don't like to just like put an all over design over the patchwork, because then they don't relate. So I always try to do like a different little design in each piece of the patchwork to just kind of enhance the patchwork instead of all over.
Where do you find your quilt tops?
Where do I find them? All over. So I've bought some here at Festival from antique dealers, Cindy's Antique Quilts in Oklahoma and Julie Silver, and eBay, some from eBay. And I have my best friend loves garage sales and I hate them, so she goes to garage sales and buys me $20 quilts and gives them to me, which is pretty fun. This one's a little different. This was blocks that I purchased, and I normally don't purchase blocks because I don't really want to spend too much time putting together, but they were already appliqued down and beautifully basted onto muslin, and they just kind of spoke to me. So I I put machine embroidery over the applique and pieced the blocks, and this is a vintage cotton, everything has to be cotton, rickrack over it, and just quilted it lightly because I didn't want to distract too much, a lot of pattern and everything going on there.
That way you can guarantee it's square.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, I'm going to go over here. There's a couple more. So this one is the, hi y'all, I saw you at lunch, how are you?
We found you by coming to this.
Here we
This
are.
reminds me of my grandmother.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I know y'all know this classic design is called the barn raising. Whenever you have a log cabin in this light and dark like this. So again, creating my own stories. So barn raising reminded me of hell raising, and that reminded me of my dad. So this one is named for my dad. He's Eugene. But this is actually definitely one of the older ones, and this is one that I quilted with silk thread. Because again, I think the silk is just a little softer, and it glides really well, and I love silk thread. It's just so beautiful. Kind of goes away, you don't really see it so much, and there's no lint when you're sewing with silk thread, and it's really strong. People sometimes worry that it breaks a lot, but it does not. So this one over here is definitely 1970. I'll trade places with you. Yeah. Yeah, definitely another log cabin. I think 1960, maybe 1970 even. I think that I sewed tops with some of these ginghams, you know, when I was in junior high, for sure. This was a garage sale find that my friend bought about 20 years ago, and so she knew the lady that made it, so I have the provenance on it, and it sat in her closet for 20 years, and then she gave it to me, so I thought that one was just really fun, very hippie-like, and I named that one after my grandmother, who definitely would have made that. This is one that I found on eBay, and it's the Ocean Waves pattern, another really classic pattern. These corners were not finished, so I just left them as they were. And I really like to do this binding. So the binding just starts there and stops there. So it's a lot easier. You don't have to try to fight that corner going around there, and you've got all that bulk. And then this is quilted in that very modern 1/4-inch grid. And I just love that because I think once you do a grid like that, the grid kind of goes away and the pattern just kind of jumps forward. So it doesn't really detract from it. It just sort of holds it all together and makes it really modern and really old. Also, this one has a really fun back. I don't know if I can show enough of it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry I'm standing in your way, but this is old feed sack, what we call it, in this case rice sacking, that my friend found at a garage sale and gave me like 15 years ago, and so I was just waiting for the perfect opportunity, and then I just added the solid to the end. So it's uncut rice feed sacking, and the colors just seem to go really well.
You didn't dye that. That was the color.
No, I didn't dye it. Yeah, that's the color it came in. It's super cool. Probably the sacking's probably 1950s or somewhere around there. Yeah.
I have a question. When you are doing your grid, do you go all one way and then take it off and then flip it and then do all the other way?
Yes, the question is how to do the grid. So I don't. I have a channel lock on my long arm, so it's not computer, and so I just do all the lines one direction, then take it off and flip it, and then do the lines the other direction. It's actually not hard at all. It just takes some time.
How did you handle it with like the irregular edge?
I just quilted off the edge. Is that what you mean?
Onto your batting.
Yes,
Off the edge
yes.
onto your batting and then
Yes.
turn around and like that.
I don't turn around, I always go the same direction.
Okay.
Because if you turn around, you start to get little ripples.
Yeah.
So it's better just go this right to left, right to left, right to left, all the way down. And then turn it, trim it. Yeah.
Do you, I see there's a few stains which I've
Yeah.
seen at the festival with quilts.
Yep.
Do you try to get those out?
No. Somebody asked me about the stain, so I will borrow the words of a famous Japanese quilter. That's a friend of mine. That's just another color. Because you can try to get them out, but it's a lot of risk. And I also, that's a great question because a lot of people ask me about washing them. I don't wash them. So sometimes if I get them from a dealer, they are washed already, and the dealer has done that and knows how to do that. But like garage sale ones, I just don't think that I don't want to damage it or have it fade. So I also look for ones that are semi-cleanish and hopefully don't smell. You know, when you get them on eBay, you never know. And one time I was showing these at a guild lecture, and the lady was sitting way in the back, and I could hardly hear her. And she said, "What about vermin?" And I said, "What about bourbon?" I thought she said bourbon, but she said vermin. So hopefully there's no bugs either. But you never know. This is just a really basic patchwork one, and it's so basic I was worried about putting it in this group because it just seems so simple, but I think it works because it kind of gives your eye maybe a little bit of a rest. But this is again where I've just quilted inside each piece of patchwork, just kind of adding its own little design. And I named this one for my brother because when we were kids he had like a red, white, and blue room. So this would have gone well in his room. And I think there's two more over on the other side. This is, I think, definitely one of the oldest ones I have. This was the first one that I did. And so I was just sitting on the couch, during the pandemic one night, and I saw it on eBay, and I realized it was a top, and I just had to buy it. So this one is all quilted with silk because, again, I felt it was so old that I really wanted, something more gentle on it. And it's got a really pretty backing that's like a reproduction fabric, right, of a backing. Yeah, that I think kind of goes nice with the paisley. And this one's called the Chimney Sweep. Maybe you probably already knew that, this block. And so I named this one after my one of my oldest ancestors through ancestry that I know of that came here to America around 1675, I think. Yeah, 1675. And his name was Juice, so that was named after him. But I thought it was really pretty, and I love these sort of subdued colors, which I think have held up really well. And this one, I don't know if y'all know Julie Silver, but she helped me date this one to probably about the 1870s, 1880s, somewhere in there based on the fabrics. Yeah, so that one's really great. And then this is one that I bought also on eBay, a classic, 1,000 pyramids pattern, but I just loved the sort of quirkiness of the fabrics. And again, I'm quilting each piece of patchwork with a different design, but I really bought it because I like that.
Which you didn't quilt at all?
I just quilted like around in the edge or the gutter or whatever, and it had like some little issue over here on the side, but I just left it because I don't like to change them too much or try to repair them. I could have trimmed it up, but why not just leave it? And this one, I think I put a really fun backing on this one. It's that cave facet, those big faces, super, super fun.
So is every single triangle a different pattern?
Yeah,
or did you repeat it?
Yeah, I may have repeated a little bit, but I do try to make them, if I can remember.
How long does that take you to change every triangle?
Not too long. I change the thread a lot too, because I think that's really important to get I usually do matching thread versus, unless it's some sort of effect you're going for, but I really try to get the thread and the patchwork to match. So this one, I don't know, maybe a week or so to do that one.
So how many times did you change the thread if this is 1,000 times?
Not 1,000 times. I would say it's probably about a dozen different colors of thread. Yeah, I use just a lot of, maybe more, maybe max 20, somewhere in that neighborhood. And sometimes I change the bobbin each time, like I did on that, and then sometimes I keep the bobbin the same. I think it just depends on the backing, because this one I used all the same bobbin, almost so it would just sort of fade away, and you could just see the pattern, but not fight with the vases, because it's such a really pretty print.
So you improvise each triangle?
Yeah, all free motion.
You
Yeah.
have 1,000 different.
I'm sorry?
You have 1,000 different free motion designs.
Oh.
That you said they're all different, or
No. The name of this quilt pattern is called 1,000 Pyramids. So anytime you see this, that's the class. Like this is a chimney sweep. That's 1,000 Pyramids. That's just the name of the pattern for this sort of triangle shape. Yeah. So I don't think I have 1,000 different. Maybe, I don't know. I just sort of make it up as I go along.
So what will you do with these quilts? Will you keep them in your family, or
great
will you
question.
sell them?
Not sure yet. I want to show them again somewhere. So, and then maybe give them away or something. It's too many because I actually have more at home.
Do you?
I have probably another 10 already finished at home, and they're starting to pile up.
How long have you been doing this?
So I think just 2 years. This was the first one.
Okay.
So, and they go so much faster than when you're making the quilt and then quilting it, right? Because if you're making a quilt, you can spend 3 months or 6 months or
piecing it.
Yeah. So that's what motivated me in the beginning, was I thought I could put them on the longarm in between while I'm making a quilt, and then just have something different to do, right? Different skill from piecing or applique than using your machine. So if the top's already made, you just take one off and put the next one on.
Yeah.
It just goes a lot faster, so they do pile up pretty quick. Any other questions?
How
Yeah.
do you store them? Do you keep them flat?
I wish I could. Yeah, how do I store them? I have a, I use those plastic tubs. I put them in those so they're protected and dust free, but I do fold them. I mean, the perfect way to store them is, first of all, to roll them. That's probably the best way. And second is to lay them flat if you have the room.
Stack them on your bed?
So, yeah, stack them on the bed flat. Yeah. I do that sometimes too. Yeah. But then somebody, my kids show up.
Yeah.
It's a major
Don't
deal.
touch that.